Okay, another revision video for Of Mice and Men. The novella, this is for GCSE English Literature, and this video is just going to quickly run through the themes of the novel, or the novella, should I say. And again, if you've seen my other videos, you know that we start off thinking about what's it all about, so the central message, and from that central message then we can kind of uncrack the codes within, so how the themes link in, how the characters link in, and how the specific techniques link in, that that Steinbeck was using throughout. And as I said, Of Mice and Men, it's a social commentary. In other words, he was writing about life at the time, society at the time, for migrant workers on the ranches, and how difficult it was for people in 1930s America. It's really important to get across how you need to be aware of the context of Mice and Men, particularly for the AQA GCSE English Literature, because this text is included on the syllabus as a text from another culture, so you have to show what you have learnt about that other culture through your study of the text. Okay, so themes. I'm kind of paring it down to 3 themes I think I've got on here. So relationships, friendships, that the novel explores. With that, of course, on the other side we have loneliness and isolation, and we have dreams and aspirations. These are the 3 that I'm going to be looking at. You may have been taught others. You may have study guides which look at different themes. In this video, I'm going to be looking at these 3. First of all, relationships. Migrant workers. Okay, so these guys, migrant workers, in other words, they moved from farm to farm where there was work. Farming is very seasonal, so parts of the year very busy, other times very quiet. So the workers would go to the particular farms during the particular seasons where when it would be busy and they could seek employment. Now, because of that, they're quite nomadic in their lifestyle. They move on from farm to farm, and therefore they struggle to maintain any permanent relationships because they're always moving. So they don't have these permanent relationships with other people. George and Lenny, as they both are, profoundly aware throughout, they are slightly different because they find strength in their friendship. Being together, it kind of sets them out. They are different because they have got this permanent relationship, and it's a relationship that is mutually beneficial. Clearly, Lenny depends upon George to make the important decisions for him because of his learning disability, he's unable to. But George benefits through this because he has someone to talk to. He has the companionship that other people are lacking. Their particular relationship is contrasted with Curly and his wife, I think. Curly and his wife have this loveless marriage. It's quite clear, looking at the 2 characters, Curly and Curly's wife, that as far as he's concerned, she is this trophy wife for him, that she's a possession, something that he owns, and she's not very happy with Curly at all, and continually seeks the attention of others. Now, moving on, the flip side of relationships, we have loneliness and isolation. All of the characters are isolated in some way. The main characters and the subordinate characters that we see. Even George and Lenny. Lenny, whilst they do have each other in their friendship, Lenny is isolated because of his disability, and George is isolated because he has to continually look after Lenny. He's unable to go and enjoy himself, as he keeps on saying, because he's got to look after Lenny all the time. Some of the characters, they feel this loneliness. Wit, who's a subordinate character, Candy and Curly's wife. It's quite clear that they feel this loneliness and they're aware that they are lonely. Crooks, he insists on being alone. He doesn't like it, but as far as he sees it, being alone is being safe because of the discrimination which he faces on a day-to-day basis. And there are other characters that, because of their loneliness, they struggle to express themselves emotionally. Curly is aggressive, and Carlson, he lacks empathy. He lacks this understanding. He has the last line in the novel, in the novella, and there are many that think that it was for the Carlsons of the world, for which John Steinbeck was writing, the people that could not understand. He wrote the novel so that to help them understand. And Carlson's the last line of the novella is Carlson saying, say what's eating those guys, or words to that effect. Look it up, but he doesn't understand what George has had to go through in at the end. And then we have dreams and aspirations. Nearly all of the characters we see, they dream for a better life. Dreams are shown to be an escape, to be able to escape from the life that they lead in. George, Lenny, and Candy, they want to be self-sufficient. That is essentially the American dream, which you would have studied when looking at the context of this novel. They don't want to work for anyone else. They want to work for themselves. Crooks, he's rather cynical. He says, he thinks that the dream, they're never going to get the dream, and this is perhaps indicative of the discrimination that he has faced throughout his life. And the novella, it presents this fatalistic view, and I'm going to explain a bit more about that. But this idea that the dreams will never come true, that that's all they are. They're a dream. They're a fantasy. Now, the title of Mice and Men is quite significant in terms of expressing the theme. It's an allusion. An allusion rather than an illusion is a reference to something else, and in this case it's a reference to a Robert Burns poem called To a Mouse. It's a nice succinct title, To a Mouse on Turning Her Up in Her Nest with a Plough. And the speaker in the poem, he's been ploughing through a field, and as he's done so, he is ploughed straight through a mouse's nest. And he sees the whole poem is him addressing this particular mouse, and he sees some similarity in the problems of the mouse and the problems that he faces. And it comes from this. Now, it's all written in Scottish dialect, so I'm not going to go and read it in my poor Scottish accent, but I'd just like to go through it. But Mousie, thou art no thy lane. You're not on your own. Improving foresight, in other words, trying to work out what's going to happen in the future, might be vain. There's no point in trying to look to the future, because the best laid schemes, the best laid plans of mice and men, gang after agly, often go wrong. So whatever plans you put together, they will often go wrong, whether you're a mouse or a man. And leave us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. So the idea of looking towards what might be better, when it fails, it makes you feel even worse because you've built it up so much. In essence, don't make plans. They will always fail. And that's what we mean by being fatalistic. No matter how well you plan, they will almost always go wrong and make you feel even worse because of it. So this title, it emphasizes this fatalistic tone of the text. And after reading it, it's an unhappy ending at the end, and Steinbeck is kind of saying life is harsh, and the dreams that we have in order to make the life just that little bit better, that form of escape, they're fragile, and they can break easily.